Hello, I'm Angela Wamboy, and these are the stories making headlines on Capital TV. Opposition leader Raila Odinga has supported President Uhuru Kenyatta's objection to cabinet secretaries appearing on the floor of the National Assembly for questioning. Raila says cabinet secretaries are no longer members of parliament, and requiring them to answer questions on the floor of parliament would amount to the legislator interfering with the executive arm. He says the National Assembly can continue to safeguard the public's interest through the committees the technocrats already report to. Raila's support of President Kenyatta comes a day after the head of state wrote to the Speaker of the National Assembly explaining that lawmakers had overstepped their mandate in requiring his cabinet secretaries to answer questions on the floor of the House.
The executive can only appear before parliamentary committees to answer questions. They are not members of parliament. Therefore, you should never invite them to come and intimidate them on the floor of the whole House. A view that is not right. There is an option of having a mixed system, like they have in Ghana, and even have suggested this. But we are not touching it right now because we don't have a bipartisan approach. But I know everybody, even the Jubilee, actually would agree with me that a mixed system probably will make for a much more accountable government.
Lack of space for wildlife is slowly emerging as a major challenge in conservancy, according to Kenya Wildlife Service Acting Director William Kiprono. Kiprono says as the country continues to witness major infrastructure development, while animals have lost 40% of its initial land. He says this has left animals prone to poachers, but says the government intends to purchase more land to compensate on the lost acres. He was speaking during a sensitization meeting with non-governmental organizations involved in wildlife conservancy. During the meeting, he appealed to the groups to avoid giving conflicting information as it negatively affects KWS efforts to eliminate poaching.
Whoever is ready to support conservation in this country, to provide support in terms of finances so that you can acquire more land, or even individuals through what we call easement, where you lease some land from the communities. Like we are happy to report that we have Honorable John King, who is our neighbor here, has already given us substantive land for easement around this park because our neighbor in this place. So we are encouraging more people to do the same.
The court delegation, which was to present evidence on claims made about the disputed Karen land to the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, was a no-show today as they kept journalists waiting for close to 3 hours at the Integrity Center. Senators Johnston Muthama, James Orengo, and other leaders were expected to bring forward whatever information they have on grabbers of the disputed land to help in the investigations. They, however, failed to show up, after which the EACC spokesman, Yasin Amaro, said the commission had received information that they would go there on Wednesday next week. And now taking a look at the world of business, Family Bank has announced plans to list on the Nairobi Securities Exchange once it's done with its full expansion plans and stronger shareholder values. Speaking during an investor briefing today, Family Bank Chairman Wilfred Kiboro says the management is at the moment putting in measures that will see shareholders gain maximum value once listed, which stands at 35 shillings per share. He adds the bank will be looking at listing when it will require more capital to grow its assets. And finally, from the sports desk, National Rugby Sevens head coach Paul True has called on transparency in the government-sponsored anti-doping task force report, which accused him of introducing food supplements laced with steroids. In a statement sent to Capital Sport, True trashed the findings, saying he introduced a no-supplement policy when he took charge of the team, just as they had done in South Africa, where he was the head coach for 9 years. He further questioned the credentials for the Professor Moniwa Kesa, who led the task force that is not recognized by the International Rugby Board. True also pointed out that despite the claim, not a single Sevens player had tested positive in the period they claimed supplements were in use. And that's a wrap-up of the day's top stories. I've been your host, Angela Wamboy. For more on these and other stories, log on to www.capitalfm.co.ke/TV.